Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello, I'm Lee Hutchison, host of Filibuster, and I'm joining you for a little special announcement before we kick off today's episode. If any of you follow us on social media, you'll have recently seen that we've been hit by a legal claim. Fortunately, we can't go into the specifics of the amount, but what they're asking for is less than it would cost to go to court, and they know that. But the Nerd Party is a not-for-profit, and it's just a group of nerds like myself, Tristan, Matt, Mike, everyone, just talking about nerdy things. We unfortunately don't have insurance for something like this, and we need your help to fight this and to battle this predatory legal practices that have hit us. This could happen to anyone. If you're listening and you've got a podcast, it could easily happen to you. If you're a listener of podcasts, it's very possible that your favourite show could be hit with something like this. The amount we're asking for will help go towards fighting that battle. But every cent, dollar, anything will go towards that legal cost. A lot of you have listened to the Nerd Party for several years, and we've never asked for anything like this before. Usually we just ask for a share or a like on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, whatever. But today we're asking for something a bit more than that. So anything that you can donate, please go to gofundme.com/the Nerd Party and use the hashtag TNPFight to spread the word. Help us out. It will truly make a difference. Now, enjoy the show.
Let the filibustering begin.
Welcome to Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to Filibuster. I'm your host for today's interview, Lee Hutchison. I'm really excited to bring you today's interview. It's with actor Dominic Keating. I'm sure that name rings a bell for many of our listeners who probably are Star Trek fans. Dominic Keating played Malcolm to 4th seasons of Star Trek Enterprise as a stiff-uppered Brit security officer, and boy did he play that role well. So, we sat down today at the Edinburgh Comic Con for a 10-minute chat. We chatted about Star Trek, how the role came about, projects he's working on, and things to keep an eye out for in the near future. Hope you'll enjoy today's episode, and if you did, make sure to check us out on Facebook for where we'll be updating on things that are coming out. So that's Facebook.com/the Nerd Party, Twitter @Join Nerd Party, Instagram The Nerd Party, and you can find out everything that we've got going on there, from competitions to forthcoming interviews, podcasts that are dropping, everything. So check out there. Hope you'll enjoy today's show. Bye.
Yeah, so thank you very much for joining me. So obviously we're here in Edinburgh. Earlier on you were giving a talk about you have a bit of an acting origin here in Edinburgh, your involvement with the Pleasance. What's it kind of like being back in Edinburgh again?
It's great fun. It's probably been 30 years. I'm going to age myself a bit here. Yes, it's great to be back in Edinburgh. It's been about 30 years since I've been here. I did a play. Well, I first came up to set up the Pleasance Theatre when its first year, which I think was about 86, if I'm not mistaken. 1986, that is, people. and then I came back and did 2 seasons, one with a big hit play with Tim Spall called Screamers, and then the following year, what was that other piece we did? I can't think what it was called now. It wasn't quite so well attended, but yeah, it's lovely to be back. It's a great friendly town, and I met some people last night, went bar hopping a bit.
One of the best things about Edinburgh. One thing I'm kind of curious about, we've had Star Trek writers and we've had Robert Picardo on before, and one thing I've always thought with Star Trek, and I'm a huge fan of it, is that getting a role in Star Trek is almost like winning the lottery in a way. It opens so many doors and opportunities, and people almost view the actors almost like they're probably presidential people and stuff like that. What was it like for yourself, that moment of like going from auditioning to right, you've got the role and now you put on the kind of famous costume?
That was it was friends of mine asked me if I was excited. I've been in LA about 7 years and I'd had some success. I wasn't having to wait tables to get by, but it'd been, it was single white man living, is what I used to call it. But people asked me if I was, were you really excited to get that job? And I was more relieved in the end that the waiting and it had paid off. And as you say, we signed a 7-year contract, which for most shows in Hollywood don't know if they're going to make it past episode 4. And I mean, we didn't do 7 years, but we still got syndication, and I never questioned that. It was, I mean, the house I ended up buying, the house that Trek built, my accountant, was very nervy, laying out quite such a lot of cash early on into, we were only 18 months into the run at that point, and and when I look back, it was a bold move. It paid off for me financially. I mean, I extended myself a bit further than I might have done, but I never questioned the fact that we weren't going to do 7 years. Mm-hmm. He was much more, honey, this is Hollywood, and you might close in 4 episodes. There's no guarantees, but you're right. I mean, it was like winning the lottery, and then everything that comes with it, not least this other appendage. I'd seen the documentary Trekkies, so I knew about the convention world. And I was the first cast member out of the gate on our cast to go do these things. A couple of my castmates were a little snotty at first, like, oh my God, you're going to do those?
I think Patrick Stewart had the same. I remember reading an interview with him where he was like, well, I'm not going to go do those things, and all the other cast would, and now you see him, he'll go to these events, and I've seen him.
I know how much they pay Patrick.
Absolutely, they see the green room ride, and it's like, well, maybe I will go along.
Oh, yeah. And look, and not so the fans think this is all about cash. It doesn't hurt, but it's lovely to meet the fans and feel the love. If I don't sound too cliched, or yeah.
Because one thing, I've seen you at a few conventions now, and I think one thing I always notice, whether it's yourself or any other Enterprise cast, for example, the feedback always was, it's a show that ended too soon, and in particular with yourself and Connor Trinneer, you two were almost the heartbeat of the show. This relationship you built was one of the people's favourite things of the show. It had all these CGI, but for you it was that...
Thank you, buddy. That's very kind of you to say so.
Obviously, what was it like building that relationship? Was it something that kind of the writers maybe saw in you two together and went, let's write around that, that's gold that they've got there, or did it something that being written together in episodes like Shuttle Pod 1 kind of forced you together?
It was, we did one scene early on together, and I'll say Connor and I are still best friends all these years later, and we just liked each other from the read-through, the one scene, I forget what it was, but writers are looking, especially on episodic TV, they're looking for what they can write for, and they saw this chemistry between myself and Connor, and they picked up on it, and they ran with it, and before we knew it, it was the end of season 1, we got to do Shuttle Pod 1, and we never looked back, and thank you for saying such kind words about it. It was great. He's a great actor, Connor. He really is. And we, as you say, the heartbeat of the show. I like that. I'll take it.
You can put that on your LinkedIn profile.
Absolutely.
I'm curious as well. Like you were talking about the writers there. Obviously, sort of halfway through, there's a bit of a change. What was sort of your relationship like with, say, Brannon and Rick, who have been involved with Star Trek for so long? Was there kind of nerves about maybe approaching them with some ideas, and then someone like Manny Koto comes along, new in the door? Do you feel like, I can maybe sort of have a word in his ear? Something I felt was maybe missing from the first 2 seasons. I can sort of have a chat with him and get that changed.
I had the luxury of playing the English guy on this show was because they were quite precious about what they'd written, if I can call it that. Yeah. I remember shooting an early scene with quite a lot of dialogue and thinking, I nailed that. And then, they cut, let's go again. And I was like, really? And then the script lady came over, Jan, and she said, so Dominic, you said and instead of Arv, you said but instead of if, you said... I'm like, you're kidding, right? Yeah. She went, oh no, not on this show. And it was, oh my word, they were pretty precious about what they'd written. But the luxury I got was, as the English guy, I could ring up Brannon and go, British guy wouldn't say that.
You're the expert there, isn't it?
And I did get some leeway, and I got to say some extra stuff, or I got to play with my part a bit more structurally than Connor certainly was allowed to do. And I pitched a couple of episodes. They were open to, they've been doing this a long time, and they were open to any kind of ideas. None of mine got taken up, I'm afraid to say. I didn't get the reward for it. But no, I took a couple of pitch meetings with Brannon. Yeah.
What kind of ideas did you have? Was it kind of really heavy episodes where you're like, I'm going to make myself the star here?
I remember one was very much about an saving a planet's ecosystem.
Seems a very Star Trek idea.
And I thought it was a pretty good idea. Brannon thought it was a bit preachy, I remember him saying.
Imagine someone saying, a Star Trek episode preachy. That sounds like
really,
it's right up their street.
That's a bit rich. Okay. I can't remember what the other one was about now. I forget. It's a long, it's 16. Where are we? 2018 now. I mean, it's nearly 18
years. Yeah.
It's 18 years since we started the show. 17 years. 2001 we did it.
Yeah, and then 2004 sort of it came to its end in its prime. So,
oh my God!
I know we're aging ourselves here. So after kind of Star Trek's ended, sort of like you were talking there about an interest in writing, is that something you could see yourself perhaps doing one day? I think in the talk earlier you said that you were going to return to sort of England. Could you see yourself sort of writing a one-man play, for example? I think you've performed at the Fringe before.
If I had $1 for every time friends of mine said, Dominic, you need to sit down and write something. I'm a good storyteller. I don't know, mate. It's a lot of work. It freezes me up inside. And then, I've sat down in front of a blank computer screen once or twice, and then a friend rings up and says, do you want to go play 18 holes of golf? And I'm like, yep.
Quite right. And then what kind of projects are you working on at the moment? I know you were talking about a few of them earlier on, and some of them sounded quite exciting in the Iliad. Kind of how did all these sorts of come around?
I came over to do a film here just now, starring Sir Derek Jacobi. It's called Amsterdam Secrets, and I've got a nice co-star role in that, playing a bank manager to the young lad who is the star of the movie. And then I just finished a movie in LA called Maternal Instincts, which is a thriller about abducting babies and selling them on the black market to rich European families. And I play the rather unsalubrious leader of a Russian mob gang. So it's Mr. Sergei. He was a pretty nasty character, but a lot of fun to play him. What else? I'm auditioning next week there's a new BBC, I think, adaptation of Les Miserables.
Oh, that's one of my favourite kind of plays and musical.
It's going to star Dominic West as Jean Valjean.
Oh, wow.
And I've got a good part for a good audition for that next week. So,
will you be singing in that one?
No, it's not. The straight dramatic version.
Yeah. Excellent. And then just kind of finally, like the Iliad that you kind of recently finished writing, performing that, one of the few Brits to ever sort of do it. How did that kind of come around? Obviously you do quite a lot of voice work. How did sort of those two come together? I do quite a bit of voice work, and God bless the agents that handle me. There was a wonderful woman called Professor Caroline Alexander that had finished. She spent 5.5 years taking time on this translation of the Iliad. She's trying to make you feel bad about not writing your own play now.
I tell you. She loves this story, and she's done a beautiful translation of it. I didn't know anything about the Iliad really, other than it was written by Homer, and there's another one called the Odyssey. That's about as much as I knew. I now have looked at several of these Iliad translations and listened to one or two of the audio versions. There are 4 in the world, and I'm now the 4th. I think I'm now the 5th or the 4th. I forget what it is.
More men have been on the moon then.
So yes, I agree. It was an amazing journey, and Caroline listened to some voices, and she picked my voice out of the hat. It was like
another lottery win.
God bless me. Yeah, it really was. Without doubt, it's right up there with some of the stuff I'm most proud of in a long career.
Congratulations, and thank you so much for giving up your time today, and good luck next week.
Thank you, buddy.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.